The dockets that we peruse cannot link the deceased to the initial cases that were opened.
In every single one?
In every single case.
You're telling the Commission that in every one of these 77 cases...
Because in majority of the cases, they are unknown. Deceased are unknown. So if they are unknown, how do you link them to a shooting? If they are known, then in fact...
No, I understand if they're unknown, they can't be linked
yes.
to any docket.
Yeah.
But presumably they are identified at a later stage.
When they're identified at the later stage, their names are not in the docket. When we pick up the docket from the station, the names are not in the docket.
Do you mean in the station of origin where the case was opened?
Yes.
They are not identified as suspects in that case?
Yes. In some of the cases, we interviewed investigating officers. And investigating officers indicated, I did not task anyone to go looking for a suspect because I don't know the suspect. So in the Commissioner, when they get this information about suspects in cash in transit or in cases of murder and so forth, they don't do a proper investigation to link those suspects to the case. And in the operations, they don't involve the investigating officer who is tasked with the docket. They just get the information, they plan an operation, and they go, and then the shooting takes place.
Can I just understand what it is you're saying is wrong? We, for example, have had evidence to do with drug busts, right? And in what we have had, at least according to the evidence standard, there is no first opportunity to identify a suspect, open a docket, have a name, investigate them. The story is we got a tip-off from crime intelligence officer that there is these drugs at this particular place, and we went and did a bust. So there's obviously no docket at that point when the bust is done, and there's no case number, there's no known suspects.
That's correct.
Is what you're saying that in respect of these cash in transit or these task team cases, that it is wrong that they act on a tip-off when there's no docket, there's no case number, there's no known suspect in advance? Is that the criticism? Is that a criticism? And is that if it is that a criticism that you are raising?
No, Commissioner. In these cases, there are dockets. There are dockets in these cases that are open prior to them getting the information, because the cash in transit take place maybe a day earlier, and then they receive. So there is a docket open on that date when the cash in transit take place. There is an investigating officer that is identified to investigate that case. The information that comes to the task team is not provided to the investigating officer, or there's no communication with that investigating officer to say that we've received information that there are cash in transit suspects that's hiding at a particular place. For the investigating officer now to investigate that matter, they simply go out there, the task team themselves, leaving the investigating officer out, because at none of the scenes that our members went to, that they found the investigating officer. So the task team, they go themselves out to the place where they receive the information, and then the shooting take place. So in all these cases, there were dockets open prior to the task team going to the premises to arrest suspects.
Okay.
So from what you are saying, it seems to me that the task team members identify a particular cash in transit heist randomly. If they happen to know that there was a cash in transit 2 days ago, they will just identify that or any other.
It looks like that.
We are based on what you say, which is that there is then no connection whatsoever between the people that have been killed and that particular cash in transit.
Yes, Commissioner, because as I indicated that when you get to the scene, and when my investigators on the scene want the names of the deceased persons, the deceased are unknown. So they cannot link the deceased to the actual cash in transit.
But are you able to say that, I posited this based on my understanding of what you say, but then I have a question, which is this. Are you able to say these, the deceased have nothing to do with that cash in transit, if at that stage not even the investigator or the detective knows who the culprits are?
Commissioner, I wouldn't say that they're not involved in the cash in transit.
Yes.
There must be an investigation to link them to that cash in transit.
But what point then are you making by saying when you go to the dockets, you're not able to link the deceased with that docket? What point are you making?
Well, the cases that we have looked at,
Yes.
we cannot do any linkage of those suspects to the cash in transit.
And what linkage do you expect at that stage? If the culprits are not known, if even the investigator or the detective does not know who the culprits are, what link would you be expecting to make?
Well, normally the cash in transit, well, I won't say normally, majority of the cash in transits, it's on social media. There are video recordings of it, those cash in transit. You could see some of the criminals that are there carrying powered rifles and so forth. You would use that to identify whether these are the suspects in those cases. And only the investigating officer has the docket and can assist in doing that linkage.
And would you say that that's the situation or the case in all 77 that we're talking about here?
No, not in. Actually, in all 77, as I said, Commissioner, there is no reference to suspects, the suspects' names in the docket. So how do the task team link those unknown people to a cash in transit? There's no linkage there. And even if they give us names, you cannot find the names in the cash in transit case. Because in majority of the shootings where there's cash in transit, in majority of the shootings, you'll have a cash in transit that occurs maybe 2 days ago. And then you get a shooting where police go looking for alleged cash in transit suspects and kill them. So there was no proper investigation done to actually link these alleged suspects to the case.
Would the answer lie in the docket, though? Because if at that early stage the culprits are not known, would the answer lie in the docket? I would imagine it shouldn't, and it cannot.
It cannot.
Does the answer not lie in on what basis are the police saying these are the people according to the information or the intelligence we got? Doesn't the answer lie there? Either there is an answer there or there isn't, but not so much in the docket. Because
yes.
I have difficulty understanding this about not finding anything in the docket.
There's basically nothing in the docket.
Yes.
There's nothing in the docket.
Exactly my point.
Yeah. If they are getting the information from crime intelligence, allegedly from crime intelligence, they're getting the information, and they act on the information without conducting a proper investigation.
And I'm not even suggesting that there is an answer. I'm saying it may or may not lie there. That is the answer. What information did they get, and what is it in that information that led them to the people that they killed? Yeah. But not so much the docket.
Oh, well, Commissioner, the information they get is that there is a particular premises, and mostly it happens in a informal settlement.
Yes.
They will indicate that there's a particular house where there is suspected to be the suspects that were involved in the cash in transit.
Yeah.
So they get the information during the day, but they plan the operation to go through the night. And living in KZN, it's very difficult to go do operations at night, especially in the informal settlements, because it's dangerous to do these operations. So when they go to those premises, they allege that they come under fire, and they fired back. Now, if you see at the cash in transits that take place, we know that these cash in transit robbers are highly trained. They are highly trained. They're not these normal robbers that you will get on the street. They are highly trained, and they use high caliber firearms. But when you go and you look at the deceased that is lying down in that informal settlement, you're finding a homemade firearm, you're finding a revolver or a pistol, and you can see that these deceased that are there were not even ready to go anyway. They in the pajamas or underpants, and they're sleeping. So they were not expecting for police to come in order to shoot at the police. And it's surprising that police can go and say that they're going to look for cash in transit robbers, knowing fully well that they have high-powered firearms, and they will go all out to shoot because they are linked to cash in transit, that you go and you knock on the door and you say, "We're police." It's surprising that they will do that. Because you know, as soon as you knock at the door at cash in transit robbers, you're going to come under fire with high caliber firearms, because they are cash in transit suspects. So that is why I'm saying the suspects that are killed, there is no linkage that they are the ones involved in cash in transit.
Thank you. Yeah, I hear you on the modus operandi. My issue, and you've responded, so I'm not asking for any further response. My issue just related to the point you were making about the dockets.
Yeah.
Dockets,
Okay.
the information or lack of it in the dockets. You've already responded, and yeah, I'll leave it there.
And Commissioner, the other aspect is that the dockets are closed almost immediately. Once a person is killed, the docket gets closed, the cash in transit docket, because they link that deceased as a suspect in the docket without any other investigation. Not looking at the firearms that they used, whether those firearms are linked at the cash in transit, or maybe placing their cell phone at the scene of the cash in transit. That docket is immediately closed. So there's no further investigation done on that cash in transit docket that has been opened.
But that's strange. Who closes the docket?
The station, even the task team themselves, they write the name of the deceased on the docket, and the docket is closed.
I don't understand that. Not if no connection was made in terms of investigations, that the person who has been killed was indeed the person who had committed the cash in transit. I just don't follow that.
Well, based on the...
There's a missing link
Yes,
in there.
yeah. Based on the statements of the members of the task team, that they went looking for suspects involved in the cash in transit. That case get closed.
Yeah, but I'll leave it at that. We are not inquiring after the extrajudicial killings. Yeah.
Can I just follow up on Mr. Chaskalson's question about statistics? Of the 77 cases that you say relate to task teams, what percentage or number of that relates to cash in transit? Because your statement focuses on cash in transits.
Okay, I can't give you that number. It's actually those 77 is cash in transit, drug-related, and murder and cases related to the taxi industry.
Yes, no, that's my understanding.
Yes,
so my question is, has IPID not done the statistical analysis of the 77 cases? So much are cash in transit cases. And the next question that I would have asked, that I now assume you may not have an answer to in light of what you're saying, is what percentage of that cash in transit number is the majority of shootings that you say they involve Lieutenant Colonel Governor's task team? Because that's what you say at paragraph 25. You say the majority of shootings relate to his task team. So I wanted to know whether you've got that breakdown of numbers.
I don't have it, Commissioner, but we can supply it.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe